And I'm going to share my screen. Where am I at? Okay, so hopefully everybody can see that. And sorry. Just going to move that to the bottom so it's not blocking anything. And okay, everybody, well, welcome once again to OneSource Personal Development Network and our Tuesday live training. So what are we going to talk about tonight? Tonight, I want to talk all about creating value for our prospects and our clients, and creating value for ourselves as well. It's something that's been on my mind quite a bit lately. And I'll tell you why. I can't help to notice that, you know, we have individuals who get through the 30 days training and they're saying that, oh, they can't afford it or whatever the case. And I'm not saying that that's not warranted. Sometimes it is the truth. But I can't help to think a lot of times it's because we haven't created enough value during that 30 days for the individual. So, and again, I'm not pointing the finger. If anything, I'm pointing the finger at myself because maybe I haven't taken enough time really to reinforce how important it is during that 30 days that we create as much value for that individual as possible. So that's going to be primarily what I want to focus today on. And I just want to talk about some ways that we can do that to make it more effective for the clients and the prospects. So our close ratio is going to close up because it all starts with the 30 days. That's going to be the core of it. Now, I understand we need to create value long-term. It's not just about the 30 days. It's about, you know, the first 90 days, first 6 months, the first, you know, several years, hopefully. We continuously provide value for our clients. And again, for ourselves too, because I really think that's the one thing that's missed so often when we're kind of taking a look at what we have here is the value that we get from using the system, from having the one-to-one sessions, from having the network, from having the training, having the resources. All those things are extremely valuable in addition to the opportunity to earn money with it. But I think it's often overlooked. But I want to focus primarily on the 30 days because that's the most important when we get a prospect, that we make sure that during that 30 days, we provide so much value for that individual that it far outweighs any type of, I suppose, mental block that they might have about the investment, because it is a relatively small investment. But again, I've been noticing that's been happening more and more, and I can only believe that it's in most of the cases, not all of the cases, but in most of the cases, or at least a good few of the cases, it's because we haven't created enough value. So we have to really look at when we're working with those individuals for the 30 days. You know, it really is. It's an opportunity to serve, and we can't get bogged down on so many of the things and let fear creep in to kind of prevent us from, really, again, doing the best job that we can do, producing the highest amount of results that we can for that individual. To me, it's all about engaging with the individual in such a way that we're always focused on maximizing how much value we create. You know, how much do we help them improve their relationships? How do we help them with their health? How do we help them grow as individuals? How can we help advise them and structure the system in such a way that it's really, really supporting them in moving in their, the direction that they want to achieve financially. All of these things are all about value. And the way that I view creating value, or the easiest way that I believe to create value, is it all comes down to progress. That's what this 30 days initially is so much about. It's all about making as much progress in each one of those key areas. It's not about anything else. It's about teaching them the system, but the system is designed that they can make progress. They can improve their relationships. They can improve their health. They can improve their growth, and they can improve their finances. If you can create enough progress, I guarantee you at the end of the 30 days, your close ratio will dramatically increase. So I think it's really important that we take a note, that we understand that during the first 30 days, especially, you're not a life coach. Okay. And I know it's funny because I know, like, I think the majority of the people here today and several of the people listening are certified life coaches. And this is no disrespect any way, shape, or form to life coaches. I quite admire life coaches. Actually, I think, it's a talent and it's a skill. But during these 30 days, when you're working with those prospects, don't make the mistake of taking the approach of going in as a life coach. What you are is you're a consultant. You're a consultant with a team of or network of other consultants behind you, that you can go in, and your job is primarily to help them set up that system, learn that system, implement the daily actions that are required in the system. You're there to consult them. You're obviously there to support them and provide, some advice when needed. But you take a consultative approach to everything. Again, if you have a life coaching credentials, that's great. They will serve you well. But during these 30 days, you want to stay focused on, it's all about getting their system set up and maximizing the value and the progress that they're going to make. So at the end of the 30 days, when I meet with them, I can go ahead and I can pull up their charts and I can show where they were when they started, how much they've grown in each one of the areas. And then we can go ahead and decide that, okay, this is your starting point. We know exactly where you are. Now, to get you to the next level, we just have to basically design the actions and bridge the gap from where you are now to where you want to be. And I want them to see so much value that they're not focused on the money. And I'm not trying to be deceitful. That's not what this is about at all. But I know if they don't really understand the value, they're not going to believe in the system. They're not going to believe in what we're doing here. So they're not going to be overly excited about getting involved. Nobody wants to go out there and promote something that they don't believe in, that they're not excited about themselves. So again, that's what I want everyone to kind of walk away from this session today, to really get it in their head. If you want to improve your close ratio, it's critical that you provide enough value to help that individual make as much progress. And I'm going to show you some ways that I really encourage you to go ahead and do it. And again, most of you could be doing this already, but I know not everybody is. And I know that because I hear back. I talk to people. I talk to some of the people you're working with. I talk with, I try to talk to anybody who will meet with me when they're all done with the 30 days to get some honest feedback. And it's relatively obvious that certain individuals And again, I'm not pointing the finger. If anything, I'm pointing the finger at myself. But there's certain individuals that definitely are not sticking to the system. They're not sticking to the way that I suggest that it's been designed and it's been set up to hold a session. So for me, the first thing you want to do once you get that prospect, once they watch that first session all about focus, well, you need to help them to go ahead and basically set up the system. Now, I understand they don't have the dashboard yet, but they understand the 4 key areas. They understand that primarily that they're going to design 4 subcategories under each one of those key areas. But the problem is most people, they don't understand a lot of it. And they come up with things that aren't really relevant, that aren't really going to produce the results that they're looking for, or especially in certain areas like the relationships or with their finances, another one, that they just don't really understand what they should be kind of doing. And that's your role as a consultant, to go ahead and not tell them. You're not there to direct and tell them. This isn't directive therapy or anything like that. But as a consultant, you're there to advise, give them some good information, act as a sounding board for them, feed information back to them, and make suggestions. But that's where it's all going to start. Because if you get it set up right from the beginning, because remember, we only have 30 days, they're going to make more progress, because they're not going to waste the first week, 2 weeks doing something wrong to, after 2-3 weeks to realize, oh yeah, well, I should do it this way. This might be more effective. And then they don't have enough time to make that progress. So as you know, I'm real big on the dashboard in every session. If you're not using the dashboard correctly, well, you're not consulting correctly. That's all there is to it. This entire dashboard is set up as a tool that when you're having a session, that you're going area by area, subcategory by subcategory, to make sure everything is covered, especially during those 30 days. So, but the first thing you got to do is you got to make sure primarily that they're all set up right. Like, for an example, the area of relationships. Most individuals, I find, or not, I shouldn't say most, that's probably strong, I apologize. A lot of the individuals that I find when I meet with them, when I review their dashboard, well, it's a difficult one because they don't really understand it. So I would advise you to really kind of take time with them when they're setting it up and look at the areas that they're putting in and make some suggestions. Like, for an example, the first one on the relationship, that's the only one that's always going to be the same. It always should be myself. But I see people put things in there like, for myself, taking time for me, going for a walk. And these things are all fantastic. Nothing wrong with them. But it's about, when it comes to relationships, in my opinion, it's not so much about the actions, it's more about the feelings. The other areas like health and growth and even finances are more action orientated. But for relationships, I really believe that it should be more based on feelings. And when I talk about feelings and actions combined, really, but like I would have explained to you all about this before myself. And this is only an example. You'll see I put example in there, but I always ask myself a question. I ask myself a question for all of the relationships. Questions are very powerful. But, did I do my best today to live as a happy, strong, well-balanced, self-reliant man, woman, whatever the case may be, whoever's using it? And I'm not suggesting anybody use that word for word, but you can advise them by asking them, what are some of the qualities or traits, or when you envision the person you want to become, or if you're looking at somebody that you admire and you would like to be like, what are some of the qualities and traits that that person possesses? And again, if they say, well, they're very happy, I noticed that they're very considerate, they're very, intelligent, they're very strong, individual. Well, these are maybe some of the qualities and traits that you want to ask yourself every day. Am I living to the best of my ability? Doesn't mean you're perfect, but am I living to the best of my ability each day to be, to become more like this, to incorporate those qualities and traits into my life? Because that's how you become the person that you're looking to become. The same, and again, this is only an example because I understand everybody won't have a partner, everybody doesn't want a partner, but just an example. So if they have a spouse, a partner, significant other, ask the question again, well, what do you believe to be the best husband, to be the best wife, to be the best partner? What do you think the quality and traits are that you would have to be, that you would have to do on a consistent basis? Do you have to be supportive? Do you have to be loving? Do you have to be fun, playful, whatever the case may be? And maybe these are the questions that you ask yourself. Again, guide them along, give them some suggestions, because I guarantee if they're in a relationship and they focus every day on the qualities and traits that they believe themselves, but also that they believe that individual that they're with is important to that person, it's going to have a major impact on that relationship. If you're with a person and they want you to be fun and playful because it's really important to them, if you're taking time to consciously, reflect on that every day and remind yourself that you really should be a little bit more fun, you should be a little bit more playful, you should be a little bit more supportive, you should be a little bit more patient, whatever's important to that individual, those are the qualities and traits that you should really focus on. If you're lucky enough to have children, if that's what you want in your life, or if the person has children, ask yourself the question, was I the type of mother, father, whatever the case, that my child deserves? Was I patient? Was I understanding? Was I supportive? Again, all those qualities and traits, because that's exactly what it's all about. If you identify the qualities and traits of a good mother, a good father, and you try to focus on those every day to the best of your ability, you're not always going to get it right, but the best of your ability, I can guarantee you it's going to affect that child, and it's going to affect your relationship, and it's going to improve your relationship. These are the things I would be advising when I'm working with a client. The same thing for everybody else. Again, these are only suggestions, guys. I know you know that, but I'd like to keep reinforcing it. And you ask yourself the question, how did I engage with everybody else today? How did I came into contact with? Was I friendly? Was I kind? Was I considerate? Was I respectful? The best way to make a determination when it comes for the relationships with everybody else, what's important to you? How do you want others to treat you? Always remember, if you want something, give it. If you want respect, give respect. If you want people to be considerate, be considerate. That's the way that that's the way you can identify how you should be treating other people. Look at the things that are really important to you, how you want others to treat you. So that's what I would say as far as with relationships, but whatever the case may be, work with those prospects. Make sure that they understand it. Make sure that, because again, if you're going to produce those results, the best way to do that is to get them set up right from the very beginning. As far as health and fitness, again, this is more of a tick box. It's not as much feelings because it's going to be action orientated. But examples like Okay, well, the first one you could say to them, well, as Patrick said during his presentation, one of the first things he did was he focuses on his sleep. That might be one you want to consider. Maybe it's not. Maybe they don't ever have a problem sleeping, and that's okay. But again, just for an example, you could say, sleep, and then ask yourself, how much sleep do you need? Do you need 7 hours? You need 8 hours? Whatever the case may be. But again, action orientated. So that's easy enough to set up. Or, an example, water. Did you get hydrated? Ask the question, did you drink? And again, just an example, did you drink the 2 glasses of water first thing in the morning? Did you drink a glass of water with each meal? Again, advise. The diet. Did I make healthy choices? Did I stay under X amount of calories? But again, these are all things that you can, if they're struggling, if you look at what they've put down and they have it nailed and that's good, you don't have to make any suggestions. But if they're struggling, work with them. Try to get them to, make some adjustments. Advise them, act as a sounding board, but advise them to the best of your ability. Same thing with exercise. But again, these are all just suggestions that you could be making to the individuals. Personal growth. This is an area you can add a lot of variety to, and people struggle with it. For an example, one you should always, always, always put is the OneSource dashboard. I'm always amazed, and I've said this on countless times before in different trainings, how many times when I work with people and I look at their dashboard and they don't give themselves, under personal growth, they don't have anything to do with OneSource, the dashboard, the system, when this entire thing is all about personal growth. But also too, what we want them to do there in this 30 days, link up pleasure to take an action, getting that quarter point, thinking of OneSource. We want them to link up pleasure, and we want them to link up a tiny little bit of pain to not using the system. Another one, you get a good example, do something where it's like they don't have to just have one thing, they can have a few, and it can be where, well, look, you can pick one of the following. Tell them to put down 3 things if they're not sure what to do, if they want a bit of variety. Read for 10 minutes or listen to an Audible or listen to a motivational video. If you just do one of them, don't make it too easy, but give them a bit of variety that they can choose from. Another example could be splitting up the values of the points. I don't see people doing that enough, and it's a very valuable way of doing it. For an example, CTT, that stands for Creative Think Time. So Creative Think Time, 10 minutes, I get a 0.1250. Also, if I meditate for another 10 minutes, I get an additional 0.1250. So you go from white to amber, from amber to green. Because again, you add up the points, it comes out to the full point of the 0.25. But again, give them some options. And again, where if they're trying to do too much, have them split it up, that they get some type of credit. Because I've worked with people before in the early stages where they make it very challenging. They put too much down there, and then they're not giving themselves anything because they didn't get it all done. We want to encourage them. We don't want to make it easy, but we want to reward them for what they're doing right. Or another good example is let them decide on the day. If it's about personal growth, if they can't figure out, well, just do something educational, motivational, or creative. And whatever you do on that day, insert a little note into that day's block where you can kind of put down what it was that you did that day. So again, these are all ways that you're making the system more effective for them. But again, you're consulting on the system. At this stage, you are the expert. You are the expert on the system. So it's your role to support them, but it's your role to consult and advise them, but only on improving their system. The finances. Now, this is one, we did a full training on this a few weeks ago. So I'm not going to go into it in too much detail, but this is the biggest one that I find people really struggle with. And it's important to a lot of people. I can tell you what really does frustrate people, and I know this firsthand, is if that's an area that's really important to them and they're looking to improve it, and if they're working with a consultant who really doesn't understand it themselves, that can be a very negative experience. And you're definitely not creating value. But if you stick to the way that I advise you to go ahead and do it, you've got 4 sub areas. The first one should always be money in. You need to maximize the money coming in, whether it be through your job, whether it be through your side hustle, whatever the case may be. And you don't have to grow it every day. Again, go back and watch that training, because the whole training is devoted to this. But if you have a job, well, the way you maximize your earnings every day is by doing the best you can on that job. Give it 110%. You're not going to increase your pay every day, but I guarantee you're creating more value for your employer. That's going to give you more opportunity to be advanced. It's going to give you more opportunities to get increases in pay and to earn more money. But that's the first thing you need to do. Money in, maximize it. Number 2, money out, minimize it. How do you do that? Set up your budget, stick to it. Go ahead and track every single penny that you're spending. Make sure that you're getting maximum value for everything you're buying, and truly only make a purchase when you need to make that purchase. So common sense, if you maximize the money coming in, minimize the money coming out, what does that mean? Well, chances are you now have some money left over for savings. I don't care if it's 5-6 pounds a week. You have money now that you can put to the side for your savings. Because again, if you're truly doing it, and this is what you're going to be instructing the individuals to do, if they are truly doing it, they're going to have some money left over. So you're going to save up that money. And again, if it's 50 cents a day, doesn't make a difference. Save it. Then what's the 4th one? Grow. You're going to grow that money. You're going to get that money working for you. How are you going to do that? Again, go back and watch the video, the previous training, but you're going to allocate a certain percent to between your security bucket, a good secure investment, and your growth bucket, which may be a little slightly higher risk, but the rewards are greater. But you're going to make the determination of what the allocation is going to be, what that split is going to be. And whatever you decided in advance, you stick to it. But it's also important that you know what you're doing. That's why you're not going to do that every day, obviously, but every day you can be researching, you can be learning, you can be learning more about investment, you can be exploring different opportunities, you can be making decisions as far as at the end of the month, I'm going to do X with this and this much with the risk bucket because I believe the time is right for this opportunity. So you're not just at the end of the month deciding, okay, I've got this much money, now I'm just going to throw it all in here and hope for the best. You're making an educated decision. But that's how you advise on the finances. But go back and watch that training. Really, really important tip. Don't focus on the money during the 30 days. Don't let them sidetrack you when the prospects will always, not always, but very often, they're in it, they're curious, and I don't blame them. They want to know, well, how much money can I make at this? How much is it going to cost me? We haven't shared all the details with them yet. And there's a reason why. I'm a firm believer is if they don't understand what they're getting, I'm not going to just throw a price out there. I'm not going to quote a price until they fully understand what they're getting. Because if you just go out there and tell them the price right from the beginning, well, that's all that sticks in their mind. But the thing is, they don't even know what they're getting yet. So when they start trying to ask you questions, when they start trying to get you to give them information before the time is right, you're going to politely tell them that, look, primarily I'm here as your accountability buddy to hold you, to help you, support you, hold you accountable with the actions you're taking. But the final session is called Show Me the Money. And it's going to go into detail because truthfully, there's a lot of ways that you can earn money with this. It's not my area of expertise to go ahead and start explaining it to you. But the final session, you're gonna learn everything there is about what the cost is, what the opportunity is, how much you can earn, everything. And if you really want to know ahead of time, if you're just really anxious and really need to know, I get it, I understand, but do me a favor, contact Patrick directly. He'll be happy enough to discuss it with you. Don't put yourself in that position where during the first week, the second week, you've already shot yourself in the foot. You've already told them what the cost is and they don't even know what the value is or anything else. So now that's the only thing that's going through their mind. Big mistake. And it's not really your role at this point to be doing that. That's if you stick to the system, that by the time they see that final session, they know the value at that time. They've improved their relationships. They understand the system. They believe that it works because they've experienced it themselves. That's when you start talking money with them. Now they're ready to make an educated decision. Anytime before that, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, guarantee you. I've done it many times that they come to me and they ask me, they start asking me saying, well, no, I need to know. And I tell them, no problem. Right now, I'm going to share the session with you. Show me the money, even though you should only be seeing session number 2 or whatever at this stage. I'm going to show it to you right now. But please understand, the reason it's set up this way is because I want you, before you make that decision, to be able to make an educated decision and understand it. So if I show you the video now, you're going to understand the price in that. I'm going to ask you to make a decision now, and you're not going to continue with the next 3 weeks for free or anything else. So I put it back on them, and I think that's fair. I think if they're gonna really force my hand, I'll gladly do it. But I can tell you right now, I've done that more than once before. And usually when they understand it that way, they say, okay, fine, I'll wait till the 5th session. And at least that way, the focus is off the money. And now they can start to really focus on the system. Because again, what's the objective here? To create value for them, to get them to make that progress. We don't want them being preoccupied, worrying about money that they don't even understand anything yet at this stage. The goal is to tip the scales over that 30 days, to create so much value. And you would have all experienced, because you've all gone through it. That's the reason you're all here right now. There was so much value created during that 30 days that when it came down to the price, you understood it. And you appreciate that, there's a lot to this here. And I think it's a good system. And I am definitely getting some value out of it. So now you're not so caught up with the price. But again, you want to tip the scales. I used to use this all the time in sales, but it does apply to everything. Primarily, it definitely applies to us here. There's a big difference between price and cost. We need to make sure that they understand that it don't get caught up in the price, but what's it going to cost you if you're not using us, if you're not using our system? If you're going to go out there and you're going to become a life coach, if you're going to go work for yourself, What's it going to cost you to go out there and set up your own website, create your own systems, get all the training, go out there and try to get, some type of brand recognition? What's it going to cost you personally if you're not working with an accountability buddy, if you're not constantly improving your relationships and your health and your growth and your finances? If they understand that, it changes things. There's a big shift where now the price doesn't really seem, and it's not. I think the price is pittance for what we should be charging. But at the end of the day, if you just shoot yourself in the foot and throw out that price right away before they understand the difference between price and cost or the value in what they're going to get, well, that's all they're focused on is that number. Really important too that you don't just talk the talk, that you're doing what you say, because they can see through that. When you're showing up and your heart's not in it and you're just flying through and you're doing a half-assed consultant job with them one-to-one, they pick that up. They're not going to see any value, because you want them looking at you as, I want to be like this person. And I think I could learn to do what this person is doing. But if you're not walking the walk, trust me, they'll pick up on that. They'll pick up on that each and every time. And it's going to devalue exactly what you're doing. I often get, and you may have gotten this before too, but I get it all the time because I created the system. When people understand what the system, and when I work with them and everything else, they're saying, well, aren't you afraid someone's going to steal your idea? And my answer is always the same. Let them. I really wouldn't. I don't care. Why? Because if you think about it, for what they get, it's physically impossible for anybody to go out there and duplicate what they're getting for that small monthly investment. What they're getting, if they were to go out there and try to do it on their own, it would cost them several times that amount, and it wouldn't be nearly as good. So there's virtually no point to anybody trying to steal this idea. That's the way it's designed. Because if you look at it, what do they get for the money? And I know you guys know this, but do you really understand it and you really think about it? They get, expert advice. A lot of work went into this. They get, support, they get the consulting, they get the knowledge, the service, the success of what we've done before. They get the brand. Tell someone to go out there and try to create a brand. See how much it's going to cost, how much time it's going to cost, how much money it's going to cost to go out there and create a real brand. The fact that they're in business for themselves, but they're not by themselves. They've got a team. They've got the joint venture partner or the consultant that's above them. They've got myself. They got other members. We really are, a very supportive organization. And that's valuable. But again, they don't understand that in the early days. They have a proven system. We've put a lot of people through this system right up to date. And anybody who's used it for any substantial amount of time will tell you firsthand it's had a major impact on the quality of their life and their relationships and their health and every other thing. So they have a proven system that works. Ongoing training, plus access to the membership area with all the recorded trainings, not just for themselves, but for all the people that they're bringing in, for whether it be for one-to-one consulting, or if it's for somebody who wants to be a joint venture partner, or somebody who wants to do workshops, whatever the case may be. It's all the training. All of that is there. It might have to be altered depending on what you want to do with it, but the foundation is there for all of it. And you have access to all of it. You get the website, which I admit isn't the sexiest of websites out there, but go out there and create a website. See what that's going to cost you to create it and host it and get any type of recognition when they go on Google or anything else. You go into Google and you type in OneSource right now, OneSource Personal Development. We pop up every time, obviously. But we pop up for that. We pop up with Facebook. We pop up for YouTube. We pop up for Quora. We pop up for a number of different things. The commissions. People think, that I'll go out there and I can keep all the money for myself. You can keep all the money for yourself right now. You get 70% as a joint venture partner, another 20% that's just going into your GL to invest back into your business. So, and 10% goes to administration, which I guarantee you would cost you more if you were doing on your own. You get all the back office support. You get 100% of your own clients if you want to do the invoicing and everything else. The straight line selling strategy. The whole way that this thing has been designed is all about straight line selling. I'm not going to go into it too much now, but you understand the concept. You get access to myself, and all messing aside, I do have over a quarter century of business consulting experience, successful business consulting experiences behind me. And they all get access to my knowledge, my experience, my expertise. They obviously get things like, their email address, YouTube channel, and granted, we don't have 1 million subscribers, but we're doing okay. It's building. But I guarantee you, go into Google, type in OneSource Personal Development, will pop up on the first page, YouTube channel. So that's what I'm saying. If somebody wants to go and create all this, you see what happens. Some of you that tried creating businesses before, go in there and type in the name of your business. See how much you're going to actually pull up on your business, because it's a lot of work to do all that, and it takes time. They get the ongoing business training, but the main thing that they get, and this is what you need to really create the most value in, is the one-to-one accountability buddy. That's worth more than the price of admission right there. I can guarantee, and some of you are out there, you're creating programs and you're talking about going out there and creating, doing, some type of consulting, and, not about the joint venture partners, and you're dead right. Because that right there is worth more than what we're charging for the joint venture partners. But the joint venture partners, they get all of this plus that one-to-one, if it's done correctly. I'm a big believer, and this is something that I know often is so overlooked. But in addition, what do they get, and what do you get, and what do I get? You constantly learn from the people you're working with. I constantly, with the clients that I'm working with, I'm learning things all the time. All the time, I'm learning things. And that's very valuable to me. But you need to make sure that they understand that as well, and that you understand that. That's what I keep talking about. There's a difference between price and cost. There's a saying, and I believe in this as well. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You always want to be working with people who know more than you do in some area, because you're going to learn from them. Even if you're the consultant, try to work with people who know more than you do. I tend to, when I do a lot of, I try to do executive coaching as much as I can, whatever time I have available. I always try to look for clients when I do one-to-ones to have some area of expertise that primarily I can learn something from. For an example, this individual, Mike Lee. Mike Lee is one of London's top personal trainers. He an amazing young guy. He trains world-class athletes. And I'm proud to say he's one of my clients. He's not a client for as a joint venture partner. He's a client because he sees the value in us as a system, in OneSource as a system. Now, Mike, this is Mike here. He trains, like I say, world-class athletes. And he does extremely well for himself. But I'm not going to teach Mike anything about health and fitness. He's forgotten more than I'll ever know about the area. He's an expert. He does a podcast. He's a weekly member of a podcast that has over 100,000 subscribers, all about personal health and fitness and training other coaches in this area. You know, he's one of the tops in the field. But I work with him because he sees the value. I help him as far as stay balanced. I help him work on the relationships, not so much the health and fitness, but I make sure that he maintains his routines. I hold him accountable. He sets the goals. I just hold him accountable. But again, I learn every week working with him. Every week when we focus on that area, he's saying certain things. He's telling me different things. He's making different, suggestions about research or books or nutrition. And I'm learning, I'm absorbing that knowledge from him. Same thing with you. You guys know on the 26th of this month, I've got James coming in. He's the wealth coach. Again, an extremely successful guy in the areas of finances. One of my personal clients. But again, he's not learning anything from me about finances. He knows literally 1,000 times more than I know about finances. He's taught me things and said things. I learned so much from him. But again, he gets valued not because he wants to be a joint venture partner for OneSource. No desire, doesn't even understand it, doesn't want to understand it. He does it because he's a private client who gets value and gladly pays the fee because he understands the value in the service that I'm providing. But again, this is all part of the joint venture partners. But when somebody tells me I can't afford it, well, that's telling me, well, you're not really getting the value then because you're not seeing the bigger picture. You're not getting the value from the consultant that you're working with. You're not seeing the picture in everything that we have to offer here. Or it could be quite genuine. And then if that's really the case, well, then maybe you really should just go out there and focus on getting a job or do something. And no disrespect. But if they can't understand the value in what we have to offer, it's because we're not providing the proper service to the level it should be, or they're not seeing that bigger picture. But if you really want to help people grow, you have to learn how to hold them accountable. That's something that we have that's included in the joint venture partnership program that is invaluable. Learning how to hold people accountable. Teach them the system. Let them go out there and design their own system around their own goals with their own action. And then it's your role to hold them accountable based on what they say they want, based on the actions that they've set for themselves. You go and you hold them accountable and you'll help that person grow. If you help that person grow, you're producing results. If you're producing results, you're creating value. That's what it's all about. So other than that, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Again, well, we're still under the hour, but I was hoping to get it down to about 40 minutes. Just can't master that one. I tend to go on too much. I get excited when I start doing these. But anyway, thanks very much for showing up, guys. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you got some value out of that session, but really put some thought into it. When those prospects that you're getting, when you get a prospect, you all know at this stage, they're not easy to come by. They're hard enough, and they're costly to get. So when you get one, put 110% into that 30 days to start, and then continue, obviously. But really put your whole heart into creating as much value. So when you're having the sessions, make sure that they understand the system, that they're maximizing the system, that you're holding them accountable, and they're taking action on that consistent basis. And they will produce a result, which in turn will create value. So look, guys, thanks again. Always grateful for the people who show up and the people who watch. And if needed, contact me after. I'll be available for a little while. Okay. All the best, guys. Have a great rest of the night.